Hey, how's it going, everybody? Ramon here, back at you with another episode of Meet the Shaper, episode 4. Today we're going to be featuring Hoku Kupihea. We're going to sit down and talk about Hoku and find out what inspired him to get into shaping and just who he is as a person and as a shaper. So without further ado, Hoku, the floor is yours.
Right on. Thank you, Ramon. Yeah, my name is Hoku Kupihea. I'm born and raised from Oahu. Grew up in a little place called super landlocked. A lot of people don't know where it is. It's near Pearl Harbor. Yeah, I got into surfing as a kid. Just learned how to surf by standing up on a bodyboard and then progressing into performance shortboarding and then eventually into logging and gliding. So surfing has always been a big part of my life. I should say the ocean has been a big part of my life. If it wasn't surfing, it was fishing or just hanging at the beach, barbecuing. So it's just one of those things where if the family went, you went.
Exactly,
know?
yeah.
And it's not a tag-along thing. I think you always find something. If it's looking for shells, if it's swimming, if it's surfing, there's just something super spiritual about the ocean that keeps calling. And that's my getaway time. So to be able to make crafts that go into the water and for people to have fun on it, it's night and day, you know what I mean? It's a story in itself, and I would hope to continue to do that and help other people progress as surfers and appreciate the ocean the way I appreciate it.
Yeah. So how did you get into shaping?
Got into shaping by pure curiosity, actually. It was just like what you do with your hands and like how can you create something with whatever know-how you have and an approach to the wave or approach to the ocean, and being able to like, wow, I can put a rail on something and it will grab a certain way, or, you know, and from bodyboarding to performance shortboarding and into logging and even riding gliders, it's like a total different feel in all aspects because it's like where you're sitting on the board, like what you're doing, how do you get into the wave, like just etiquette, you know, on all different sizes. And I was just like, wow, this is very interesting. So it's like, I want to try, you know, so it's like, you know, being able to put something on paper and then take the paper and to turn it into reality I was like, wow, this is amazing. You know, like where can I take it next? It's always the next, like how can I improve? And I think that is the relationship that I have with shaping is a lot of things have been done, you know what I mean? And just taking a little bit from each aspect and kind of putting your flick or thumbprint on it and moving forward and learning from your mistakes and then trying to progress through the whole process.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. A lot of your shapes are like one of a kind, especially like with the colors. I really like how you put a lot of detail in it, especially dealing with like the patchwork, the fabric, and just like the pin line and just the overall craftsmanship. What inspired you to focus more on like the fine details?
Fine details, I think, comes from my cooking background. I cooked for, I don't know, a handful of years, I'd say in the maybe 12 to 15 year range.
Yeah.
So it was just like always attention to detail, always pay attention. You're only as good as your ingredients, you know, so to be able to work with something that came out of the ground from that state, then to prep to the plate was kind of a process in itself.
Yeah.
And I feel like shaping and glassing is kind of like that, because then you have this raw form, this blank that like is nothing, and then you whittle it down into something, and then you have to put a hard shell on it, which is kind of like the same way you would approach cooking, where it's just like, okay, I have a tomato, like what can I do with it, you know? So it's like, okay, I have a blank, what can I do with it? And it's always just like pushing it forward and being like, yeah, I like glitters, I like pin lines, but I also want to give homage to like the old school. Being able to be like, whoa, somebody used resin and put a pin line down. And I still feel like I'm not great at it, but I think with anything with repetition, you'll get better at it and better at it. And I think it's just respecting the process of knowing that like, yes, there will be a wobble, and progressing from that, being okay, using your eye, and then again, feeling your shape, making sure that it's where you want it to be, and never stopping until you get that. Just like when you taste a dish, you don't ever want to stop until you feel like you will serve it to your grandma.
Right.
So when you put a board out, it's kind of one of those things where it's like you're looking for that seal of approval. But if it's like, if you're not going to serve it to your grandma, don't serve it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So it's like, if you wouldn't serve it, don't put it out there. You know what I mean? And again, learn from your mistakes, but then also always remember to respect the process. because one step should line up the next step. And if you're having a hard time with that, just like cooking, you walk away, take a breather, and then approach it again, you know. And it's like all great dishes, all great restaurants, all great boards, all magic boards, all took time in the think tank, you know, because you have to make these mistakes to progress. So I think that's me. Like if somebody comes to me with a color that they want, and I'm a big automotive guy, so it's like I love when people give me the freedom being like, yeah, I want it like Econoline blue and I want it to look like a Fairlane. I'm like, all right, cool, I can do that because I have that vision in my brain, you know. So it's like, it's not only me, it's the customer coming to me and giving me that what do you call, freedom to be able to be like making it one of a kind, you know, because it's like I could easily put a board in my machine and whittle it down and have it do the work for me. But I think with me going at it from the beginning, from nothing, and then turning it into something, kind of puts more of me into it.
Right, yeah.
Versus being like, okay, it's just gonna be a clear lamination, you know? So it's like looking at the people that I look up to and like being able to learn how to glass at Dust and Fumes was a learning point where I was like, how do you put fabric onto a board? And being, again, the curiosity of like, how do you weld it to the board? Like, how do you make it work? Like, and watching each cog in the process work kind of helps me grow as whatever, a shaper or glasser. But I try and do all of it because you get better at it like through repetition, but then it makes you what they call the craftsman, because you can do it, but it's all about how you fix those mistakes and how you grow from those mistakes that gives the customer overall the better product, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why I always swing for the fence, man.
Awesome. And you know, growing up in Hawaii, being native to Hawaii and being Hawaiian, who are some of the people that, you know, inspired you and still inspire you to, like, you know, continue shaping and, you know, creating these works of art that you create?
For the cultural standpoint, I feel like, yeah, there's a lot of people, you know what I mean? By far the Duke, man, like he was the man, you know, and like I always see and read and being like, this guy was amazing and he did a lot for Hawaiian people.
He did, yeah.
And you know what I mean, trickling down to like people like Ben Aipa, you know what I mean, and using what they had at that point in time to progress identity of Hawaiian people was like, yeah, this is us, you know. So it's just like, for me to be able to like slide in and being like, yeah, this is the thumbprint I want to leave behind. I want to inspire one Hawaiian person to carry on my torch, you know. And the same way, like any mentor to, you know what I mean, grasshopper, you know, we all want everybody to progress. And yeah, there's a lot of shapers that I look up to, you know what I mean, and I couldn't have done or even get to where I am today if it wasn't for Mr. Toots. Like, he helped me get the fundamentals down. Like, you gotta do it this way. Like, remember, each step is a process, and don't forget that, you know. And today I get to share a shop with him, you know what I mean. And I think that is night and day for me, and for all the people in my walk, you know what I mean. Like B. Clem, Brent's helped me a lot, you know, and the Dust and Fumes family, and all the people that I've shared with down the road, and like being able to pass knowledge and being like, yeah, you can do it. And I think that support is what got me to where I am today. And I still feel like I got a lot of fight in me, you know, and I'm not saying that I've made it. I'm not trying to make it. I'm not trying to sell out. Like, I'm just trying to create a product that people can enjoy.
And they love your stuff, yeah.
That like, they can be like, okay, there's a swell, I want to ride this board. And I just want it to be my board every time, you know? And I think for people to come back with one board and then two boards and then three boards, to be able to create that quiver for somebody is a relationship that you build. And then I guess that storytelling starts over again, because it's like, how did you get this to do this? Or like, I need you to do this on my next board a little bit like this, or a little bit less of this. And it's a lot of shooting in the dark, because it's creation, you know? So if you don't know, you're gonna go back to what you know and then kind of like cut and paste. So learning that curve was a really hard one. Working with customers, it was different, because it's like, I want this to have this type of rail, you know, but now the customers are being like, how can we make it better? How can we make it better? Or like, how can I tailor a suit to the customer? You know, that was the hardest point, and I'm still learning as a business owner and as a surfer, you know. Like, I try and get out an hour every day, just so that way I can say I surf, you know. Like, that's is what we got into it for, is to create boards to surf. So
Exactly.
to be able to paddle out and ride your own board, and knowing that you put 8 man hours into it, like there's no feeling like it.
With that being said, hopefully I could, in the future, sit down with some of your super fans and showcase some of the amazing boards that he's put out over the last several months. So if people want to follow you on social media, where can they find you?
Hoku Surfboards on Instagram. That's all I have now, and I hope in the future that I can grow as a business and as a person to create more opportunities for people to find out about me. But Hoku Surfboards is still in the raw stage, I like to call it, where I'm still figuring it out and maintaining orders and working with clients and companies, and again, it's a learning process. And yeah, for any person that wants to get into shaping, try it, and always remember to respect the process. That's all I gotta say. And thank you to everybody who ever bought a Hoku board and believed in me and gave me a shot to get one of my boards into your quiver. Just remember that this door is always open to anybody and everybody. Again, thank you to people that supported me. I can't do what I do without you guys.
Exactly. So remember, if you're ever on the island of Oahu or you're visiting, find him on social media. Please give him a follow. If you so inclined, please order 2 or 3 boards.
Or even just come talk story.
Exactly, yeah, come talk story. So he's located at?
I would like to tell everybody I'm at 899 Waimanu Street, across the street though. And always look for a van again, it's parked out front.
Awesome. Thank you guys for tuning in. Aloha.